Hey, my name's Samantha Hayes. I'm 33, a cardiology resident here in Los Angeles, and a single mom to 3-year-old twins, Ava and Leo. 2 months ago, I was lying in the back of an ambulance, pain searing through my side, blood dripping. Every pulse felt like a countdown. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold my phone. I needed someone, just a few hours, someone to watch my babies while the doctors fought to save my life. I dialed my parents' number with trembling fingers. Silence. My chest tightening, vision blurring, every second stretching into forever. Then the text came in our family group chat. "You've always been a burden, Sam. Vanessa and I have front row tickets to Billie Eilish tonight. Figure it out." I froze. Figure it out? While I was bleeding? While my life literally hung by a thread? Rage and heartbreak collided inside me. Tears blurred my vision. 8 years of unpaid emotional labor, financial sacrifices, unreciprocated love, all crashing down at once. And in that moment, one thought burned brighter than anything else. I cannot rely on them. So I did the only thing I could. From my gurney, I found a 24-hour emergency nanny service on my phone, authorized triple the rate, made the call that changed everything. That night, I finally cut them off. All the automatic payments I'd been sending for years, gone. Every last one. 2 weeks later, there was a knock at my door. I didn't know what to expect. An apology? Nothing? Whoever it was would shake the foundation of everything I thought I knew about family. Backstory. Emotional context. Growing up in the Hayes household, love wasn't equal. My older sister, Vanessa, was untouchable, effortlessly gorgeous, magnetic. Every word she spoke made my parents' eyes light up. When she said she wanted to pursue fashion design, Mom cried happy tears. Dad called her our little visionary. And then there was me. I said I wanted to be a doctor. Dad barely looked at me. Practical choice. That's it. No tears, no celebration, no pride. Just practical. I buried myself in books, med school, residency, endless night shifts. And through it all, I was also footing their bills. Mortgage, health insurance, car repairs, emergency expenses for 8 years. And what did I get? Called a burden. Every memory flashed through me. The late night cries, endless sacrifices, the exhaustion, the heartbreak. That text? It wasn't just cruel. It was the final punch to a lifetime of betrayal. The ambulance jolted over Sunset Boulevard potholes. I clutched the phone like it was a lifeline. Cold sweat ran down my back, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. And that message, it burned in my chest. Something inside me snapped. 8 years of silent suffering, 8 years of being used, and now it ended. But 2 weeks later, when the knock came at my door, nothing could have prepared me for what waited on the other side. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. Growing up in the Hayes household, I learned early that love came with a ranking system. Vanessa, my older sister, she was always the star. Effortlessly beautiful, magnetic. When she walked into a room, my parents' eyes would light up like Christmas lights. Everything about her seemed celebrated. And then there was me. Practical, invisible, the background music of their perfect family. When I announced I wanted to be a doctor, Dad nodded, just a nod. Practical choice, he said again. That's it. No tears, no flowers, no proud posts on Facebook, just practical. Meanwhile, Vanessa got flown to New York for her first fashion show. 5-star hotels, front row seats. Dad posted 17 photos on social media, captions like, "So proud of our talented girl." And me? I got a parking lot photo and a lukewarm, "Congrats, honey." I told myself it made sense. Medicine is stable, fashion is competitive. I could handle things on my own. But what I didn't know was that my parents' favoritism wasn't just emotional, it was financial, and I was the one footing the bill every month for 8 years. It started right after med school. Dad called me one evening, voice tight with embarrassment. "Sam, we're in a bind. Mortgage is due. Could you help? Just this once?" I transferred $2,400 that night without hesitation. Of course I would. They were my parents. But just this once became every month. Mortgage, health insurance, car repairs, emergency expenses. I never said no. Not once. Even when I got pregnant with Ava and Leo and their father walked out, I called my parents from the hospital, scared, alone, bleeding, desperate. "Oh, honey, we wish we could come," Mom said, slowly, sad. "Vanessa has a big show in Milan. She really needs us." 2 weeks after I cut my parents off, life had finally started to feel manageable again. I was waking up without anxiety, without that pit in my stomach. I could breathe. Ava and Leo were coloring in the living room, arguing about whose dinosaur looked scarier. It was one of those rare moments that actually felt peaceful. Then came the knock. Sharp, urgent, not friendly. For a second, I froze. I wasn't expecting anyone. No packages, no visitors, nothing. Another knock. Harder this time. The kind that makes your heart crawl into your throat. I opened the door, and there she was. Vanessa. Perfect hair, designer coat, makeup done like she was walking into Vogue instead of my crappy apartment hallway. But her eyes were red, puffy, panicked. "Sam, I need you," she whispered. It took everything in me not to laugh. Over the last 8 years, the number of times Vanessa had needed me was exactly 0. I was the sister you ignored until you needed money. "What's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice cold, detached, safe. She looked over her shoulder before stepping inside, like she was afraid someone had followed her. She paced my kitchen, touching things, moving them, not sitting down. Her breathing was erratic. Finally, she blurted it out. "They cut me off." I blinked. "Who cut you off?" "Our parents," she snapped, like I should have known. "Dad canceled my cards, Mom said I need to be more responsible and stop expecting handouts. Can you believe that?" I stared at her. Responsible? Handouts? My parents had been funneling money into Vanessa's career since she was 18. Studio fees, wardrobe, travel, coaching, connections. It was endless. And I was the one secretly paying their mortgage the entire time. "And then," she whispered, breaking, "they told you, cut them off. They said you abandoned the family, that you ruined everything, and now they're talking about selling the house." For a moment, I felt it, that familiar guilt, that reflex built into my bones since childhood. Fix it, pay it, make it okay, keep the family afloat, be useful. But then I remembered the ambulance, the blood, the text. "You've always been a burden." I swallowed the guilt. "What do you want from me, Vanessa?" I asked. She finally stopped pacing, finally looked up, and when she spoke, it wasn't a request. It was an order. "You're going to fix this." I realized in that moment, Vanessa didn't come to reconnect. She didn't come to help. She came to demand. But she had no idea what I was about to tell her, and she definitely wasn't ready for it. When Vanessa said, "You're going to fix this," I swear the air in my kitchen turned solid, thicker, heavier. Like I was 12 again, being told to surrender my dessert because Vanessa needs it more. Some things never change. I leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, steadying myself. "And how exactly," I asked, "am I supposed to fix this?" She didn't even hesitate. "You're a doctor, Sam. Just, I don't know, take out a loan or sell your car or get an advance at the hospital." I stared at her like she'd just told me to fly a helicopter through my living room window. My car was a 6-year-old Toyota Corolla with toasted Cheerios embedded in the seats, and I was drowning in student loans the size of a small mortgage. But there it was again, that assumption that I existed to keep everyone comfortable, everyone afloat, everyone funded. Vanessa finally sat down at my kitchen table. Her perfect nails tapped against the wood. Tap, 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 like her anxiety was trying to escape her body. "They said if the house goes, they're moving to Nevada." Her voice cracked. "I can't lose the studio, Sam. My whole fashion line is in there. Everything I've worked for." Something inside me tightened. Worked for, worked for, worked for. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her about my 28-hour shifts, the blood, the exhaustion, the panic attacks in hospital bathrooms, the weight of 2 toddlers who cried when I left for night shifts, the loans, the bills, the debt, the loneliness. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I asked the question that had been quietly bleeding inside me for years. "Why is it always me?" I whispered. "Why am I the only one who ever has to rescue everyone else?" Vanessa blinked. She didn't answer. She just stared. For the first time, without confidence, without entitlement, without whatever armor she usually wore. And then the truth slipped out. "Because Mom and Dad said you would," she finally murmured. "They always told me that if anything went wrong, Sam will figure it out." It hit me harder than anything in that ambulance ever could. I wasn't the loved child. I wasn't the favorite. I wasn't even appreciated. I was the safety net. The one expected to catch everyone else, even if I fell apart doing it. And for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't sure I wanted to be useful anymore. Vanessa didn't know it yet, but I already had a plan that would flip our entire family hierarchy upside down. And it started with one sentence I had never said out loud before. I stood there, staring at Vanessa, heart thudding so loud it felt like it was echoing off the kitchen walls. For 33 years, I had swallowed my words, my feelings, my needs, my pain. But not today. I finally said the sentence I used to rehearse in my head at 2 a.m. when no one could hear me. No. Vanessa blinked. Once, twice, like her brain had glitched. "What?" she asked, voice shaking. I stepped closer, slowly, calmly, but my hands were trembling. "No," I repeated. "I'm not fixing this. I'm not paying for anything. I'm not rescuing anyone." Her mouth fell open like I had just confessed to arson. "Sam, they raised us," she stammered. My laughter came out bitter, sharp, like broken glass in my throat. "They raised you, Vanessa. I raised myself." The room went dead quiet. Even my twins stopped arguing in the living room. Ava's crayon rolled across the floor, the sound weirdly loud. Vanessa's voice dropped into that performative, wounded tone she always used when she wanted sympathy. "So you're just abandoning your family?" "I almost died," I said, "in an ambulance, alone, and they told me I was a burden." 3 days passed after Vanessa's little storm out, and honestly, things felt weirdly peaceful. No emergency calls, no guilt trips, no "you owe us" speeches, just normal. Ava and Leo were learning how to draw cats, except every cat looked like a potato with legs. I was back at the hospital, stitching up a skateboard kid from Venice Beach who insisted he totally meant to do that. For a second, life felt manageable. Until Saturday morning. I was carrying groceries up to my apartment when I noticed a single white envelope sticking out of my mailbox. Heavy paper, my parents' last name printed on the return corner, the kind of envelope that never contains good news. I stood in the hallway for a minute, groceries digging into my wrist, staring at it like it was radioactive. Then I ripped it open. It wasn't a letter. It was a notice, a formal, lawyer-signed, notarized notice with legal language that felt like ice on my spine. They were demanding repayment. Quote, reimbursement for childhood expenses, parental caretaking, and support provided from 1994 to 2018. Childhood expenses. Like I was some failed investment they wanted to liquidate. There was even a spreadsheet attached, line items for everything. Piano lessons I never asked for, soccer uniforms I hated, school field trips, food, shelter, electricity, even the damn Band-Aids from CVS when I scraped my knee at 9. Total owed $87,462.19. Due in 60 days. My hands went numb. My ears rang. The hallway tilted. They didn't just cut emotional ties, they turned parenthood into a bill. I went inside, dropped the groceries on the counter, and just stared at that notice. Ava toddled over and tugged on my scrubs. "Mommy, do cats like pancakes?" Her tiny voice snapped me back into reality. "Yeah, baby, probably." But inside, something dark was shifting, something cold, something sharp. Because the second I saw the lawyer's signature, I knew one thing. This wasn't Vanessa's idea. This was my mother's doing, and my mother never made a move without a strategy. It was the moment I realized this wasn't a family conflict anymore. It was war, and I was just getting started. The moment I realized the lawyer's letter wasn't a tantrum, but a strategy, I knew I needed someone who could read between the lines. Not a therapist, not a friend, not even another doctor. A shark. So Monday morning, after dropping Ava and Leo at preschool, I took a detour. Not to the hospital, but downtown, to a high-rise lined with mirrored windows and cold marble floors. The receptionist glanced up from her computer. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," I said, "but tell her it's family litigation and urgent." 5 minutes later, I was sitting across from attorney Marla Delgado, a woman in a navy suit who looked like she ate settlement agreements for breakfast and chased them with espresso. She slid the notice across the desk, scanned it once, then twice, eyebrows lifting fractionally. "This is unusual," she murmured. "Unusual bad or unusual stupid?" I asked. She didn't smile. "Both." Marla tapped her pen against the spreadsheet my parents had compiled. The childhood expenses, the piano lessons, the Band-Aids, the utilities, the food, the oxygen, the sunlight, everything. "This kind of claim has no precedent," she said. "Parents can't retro-bill adulthood. That's not how parenting works." The absurdity hit me all over again. She flipped the page. Also, she continued, they listed the house, mortgage payments, property taxes, maintenance. She looked up at me. You paid these? For 8 years, I said. They would have lost the house 3 separate times if I hadn't. Marla set her pen down, slowly. Did you keep bank statements, transfers, records? I nodded. They're in a box in my closet, alphabetized, color-coded, separate folders for mortgage, insurance, utilities, and renovations. Marla's expression changed, subtly but unmistakably. Predators recognize opportunity. Your parents didn't include the mortgage payments you made. That's interesting. I leaned forward. What does that mean? Marla folded her hands. It means they wanted to establish financial history, but they didn't expect you to fight back. If we counter hard. I swallowed. And if I don't? Marla looked directly into my eyes. Then you set a legal precedent that your parents can charge you for existing, and they will win by default. My pulse pounded in my ears. I thought about the ambulance, the blood, the text. Figure it out. No, not again. I reached for my bag. Draft the counter, whatever you need. Marla nodded once, slow and satisfied. From that moment on, it wasn't just personal, it was litigation. And my parents had no idea what I was capable of when I finally stopped being their safety net. By Monday morning, I had stopped shaking. The lawyer's notice wasn't sitting on my counter anymore. It was tucked into a folder in my bag, nestled between my badge and my stethoscope. I didn't take it to admire it. I took it because I was done playing defense. If my family wanted to make this legal, I could make it legal too. After dropping Ava and Leo at preschool, I got into my car, buckled in, and stared out at the Los Angeles traffic drowning the 101 like usual. But I didn't drive toward the hospital. I turned toward Pasadena, to my parents' house. The neighborhood was painfully familiar. Manicured lawns, pale stucco homes, orange trees hanging over fences, the smell of someone grilling breakfast sausage in the distance. It felt like being dropped into an old movie I didn't remember auditioning for. I parked in front of the house, the same one I secretly paid the mortgage on for 8 years, the same one my parents nearly lost 3 times, the same one they listed as leverage in their spreadsheet of childhood expenses. My stomach twisted. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I sat there for, I don't even know how long, just breathing. Then the front door opened. My father stepped outside, wearing his usual pressed polo and golf shorts. He looked older, thinner, but when his eyes landed on my car, his face hardened, like he'd been expecting me. He didn't wave, he didn't smile, he didn't even pretend. He just walked down the driveway, hands behind his back, and stopped at my window. I rolled it in an inch. You shouldn't be here, he said. Just like that. No greeting, no concern, no love. My throat tightened, but I kept my voice steady. We need to talk, face to face. He gave a small shake of his head. There's nothing to discuss. All communication goes through the attorney now. Communication through an attorney to his own daughter. I finally stepped out of the car. The sun hit my scrubs. The asphalt was warm under my shoes. Birds chirped from the power lines overhead. And for a second, the world felt stupidly, painfully normal. I paid for this house, I said quietly. My father didn't flinch. You helped, but you didn't earn ownership. Ownership. There it was again. The transactional family logic, the accounting, the debt. I looked him straight in the eye. I whispered, "You're going to regret this." He didn't get angry, he didn't shout, he didn't even raise his voice. He just smiled, thin and smug. We already do. What my father didn't know, standing there in his golf shirt on that perfect Pasadena driveway, was that I had already contacted someone who could dismantle everything they were trying to protect, and she was far more ruthless than I ever could be. That night, after the Pasadena driveway showdown, I sat on my couch with a cup of cold coffee in my hands, staring at nothing. The twins were asleep. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet where your thoughts get loud. My phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then again. I ignored it for a minute, maybe two, until the notifications stacked so fast the screen lit up like a slot machine. Family group chat. The one I had muted years ago to protect my sanity. Curiosity finally got the better of me. I opened it, and there it was. A long, furious message from my mother. Since Samantha has chosen to abandon her family, the responsibility will now fall entirely on Vanessa. Do not come crying to us when life knocks you down, Samantha. We are done being taken advantage of. Taken advantage of? I paid for their home, their health insurance, their repairs, their emergencies. 8 years of bailing out. 8 years of being the financial life raft. And somehow, I was the parasite. Vanessa chimed in next. Mom and Dad are right. I can't save the house alone, Sam. You're being selfish. This is not who we raised you to be. Not who we raised you to be. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could have unleashed hell. I could have dropped screenshots, bank transfers, invoices, mortgage statements, proof. But instead, I typed 3 words. I hired counsel. The typing bubbles popped up instantly, then disappeared, then popped up again. Full panic. My mother responded first. What do you mean, counsel? I didn't answer. My father. Samantha, lawyers are unnecessary. This can be resolved privately. Privately? As in, before it ruins the PR image, before it becomes real, before they lose control of the narrative. I typed again. All future communication goes through Attorney Delgado. Send. The chat went dead, completely silent. Not a single bubble, not a single rebuttal. It was the first time in my life my family didn't have a comeback. I set my phone down, leaned back, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in years. Then, the phone lit up again. Not from the group chat, not from my parents, not from Vanessa. This time, it was a direct message from a number I hadn't seen in months. A name that should have stayed buried. My ex. And when I opened it, I realized my family had recruited reinforcements. His name popping up on my screen made my stomach drop. Ethan Burke. My ex-husband. The twins' father. The man who swore he wasn't ready for kids and disappeared to Portland with a yoga instructor named Riley who sold crystals on Etsy. If my parents needed reinforcements, Ethan was exactly the kind of idiot they'd recruit. His message was short. Your parents are worried about you. Call them. Don't make this ugly. Ugly. Right. Because a notarized invoice billing me for childhood oxygen wasn't ugly enough. I typed back, heat simmering under my ribs. What do you want, Ethan? He replied instantly, like he'd been waiting. I want to help you. Our kids deserve stability. Fighting your family isn't healthy. Stability from Ethan? The same man who once forgot our twins at Trader Joe's because he was having a moment in the organic peanut butter aisle. I put my phone down, didn't answer, didn't react. 10 minutes later, he called. The ringing felt like a drill in my skull. But I answered. How much are they paying? Okay, so fast forward to the night of Dad's wedding. Yeah, the night I'd been dreading since the day he met Brenda. The reception was at a sprawling vineyard in Napa Valley, California. Huge chandeliers, glowing candles, tables dressed in crisp white linen. The air smelled of roses and money. And me? I stood there in a fitted champagne dress, clutching my tiny purse, trying so hard to look like I belonged. Even though inside, I felt like a ghost, just hovering in someone else's celebration. Brenda floated through the room in her designer gown, laughing too loudly at every joke, telling waiters where to stand, moving like she owned the place. Dad kept looking at her with those puppy dog eyes, like she was the second coming of Beyoncé. It hurt. It really did. Then the speeches started. Brenda's sister went first. A long, boring toast about how Brenda finally found a man who deserved her. Everyone laughed. Except me. When Dad finally stood for his speech, I swear, my chest dropped into my stomach. He thanked everyone, made a few harmless dad jokes. Then he paused, looked right at me, and said nothing. Not a word. Not even my name. Like I didn't exist. Like I wasn't his daughter, standing 10 feet away. I smiled anyway, because that's what you do when your heart is breaking in public. After the speeches, Brenda strutted toward me, that perfect I win at life look plastered across her face. She leaned in and whispered, "Try not to cause a scene tonight. We want elegant memories." Elegant memories. Right. I stepped outside to get air. The sky was dotted with string lights. Music floated from inside, laughter echoing across the vineyard. It should have been beautiful, but all I felt was unwanted. And then my phone buzzed. A message that changed everything. A message I never, ever expected. From someone I thought I had already lost. And that's when I realized this night wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Little did I know that one text would turn the entire night upside down. Stay tuned. Chapter 12 is where things stop being sad and start getting wild. Okay, so there I was, standing outside the vineyard, heart still pounding from Brenda's smug little threat. Trying to breathe, trying to convince myself that I belonged somewhere. Then my phone buzzed. It was from Grandpa Thomas. "Sam, I'm outside. Don't go back in. Wait for me." I blinked. My heart flipped. Grandpa hadn't come to a single one of Dad's weddings in over 20 years. Why now? Why tonight? I looked around. No one noticed me. Everyone was too busy cheering, sipping champagne, taking selfies with the vineyard lights glowing behind them. I felt invisible. Then a shadow fell across my shoulder. Grandpa Thomas. Tall, silver hair, eyes like steel, yet somehow warm. He smiled just slightly and nodded at me. We didn't speak, no words, just a look, and I knew he was here to fix things. Okay, so I followed him to the back of the vineyard, away from the laughter, the music, the staged perfection. And that's when he handed me an envelope. Inside, photos, receipts, screenshots of text messages, every single automatic transfer I'd made to my parents over 8 years. $364,000. 8 years of blood, sweat, tears, and exploitation, all in black and white. Grandpa Thomas whispered, quiet but firm. "It's time, Sam. They need to see what you've carried all these years." I felt a cocktail of relief and fear. Relief, because I wasn't imagining it. Fear, because this confrontation could blow up the entire family. I took a deep breath. This is it. No more running, no more pretending. Grandpa gave me a tiny nod, and we walked back toward the main event. But this time, I was ready. I clutched the envelope like a lifeline, and I knew the moment I handed it over, everything would change. Okay, so there I was, standing outside the vineyard, heart still pounding from Brenda's smug little threat, trying to breathe, trying to convince myself that I belonged somewhere. Then my phone buzzed. It was from Grandpa Thomas. "Sam, I'm outside. Don't go back in. Wait for me." I blinked. My heart flipped. Grandpa hadn't come to a single one of Dad's weddings in over 20 years. Why now? Why tonight? I looked around. No one noticed me. Everyone was too busy cheering, sipping champagne, taking selfies with the vineyard lights glowing behind them. I felt invisible. Then a shadow fell across my shoulder. Grandpa Thomas. Tall, silver hair, eyes like steel, yet somehow warm. He smiled, just slightly, and nodded at me. We didn't speak. No words. Just a look, and I knew he was here to fix things. Okay, so I followed him to the back of the vineyard, away from the laughter, the music, the staged perfection. And that's when he handed me an envelope. Inside, photos, receipts, screenshots of text messages. The music faded behind me as I stepped back into the main hall of the vineyard. Everyone was laughing, toasting, snapping photos, totally oblivious. I gripped the envelope tighter. My palms were sweating. My stomach flipped. My heart was racing like a drum. And then I saw them. Mom, Dad, Vanessa, perfectly dressed, smiling at cousins I barely knew, acting like nothing was wrong. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted them to feel everything I had felt for the past 8 years. Grandpa Thomas walked beside me, calm as ever. He gave me a small nod. "Go ahead," his eyes said. "It's time they see the truth." I cleared my throat. "Everyone, can I have your attention for just a moment?" The laughter faltered. Eyes turned toward me. Whispers started. I felt Ava tug at my skirt, Leo holding my hand. It was my moment to finally stand up, not just for me, but for them too. I opened the envelope. "I have something to show you all." Receipts, bank statements, screenshots, every automatic transfer I'd sent to Mom and Dad over 8 years. $364,000. 8 years of mortgages, insurance, car repairs, and support for Vanessa's fashion ventures. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Vanessa's smile faltered. Mom's lips trembled. Dad's face went pale. They didn't expect this. None of them did. "Do you see now?" I said, voice shaking but growing stronger. "For 8 years, I carried you. I carried your bills. I carried your needs. And I did it quietly, without asking for anything in return. But when I needed help, when I was bleeding in an ambulance, this is the message I got." I read aloud the text. "You've always been a burden, Sam. Vanessa and I have front row tickets to Billie Eilish tonight. Figure it out." The room froze. Eyes wide. Faces drained. Whispers died. Even the string quartet paused mid-note. I held my head high. Tears pricked my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I am not a burden. I am not invisible, and I will never let anyone make me feel less than I am again. Grandpa Thomas stepped forward, calm as ever. He said quietly but firmly, "Facts don't lie. They just speak the truth. And tonight, the truth is finally seen." Everyone in that room knew the game had changed. No one could turn back the clock. And me? I finally felt it. The weight of 8 years lifting. But little did I know, the fallout from this confrontation was only just beginning. The party didn't end in chaos. It ended in a stunned silence. A silence so loud it felt like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I watched Mom and Dad, their faces drained of color. Vanessa's perfectly sculpted composure crumbled in slow motion. For the first time, I saw them as they truly were: human, flawed, fragile, and finally, accountable. Aunt Eleanor moved to stand beside me, her hand warm on my shoulder. "Finally," she whispered. "Yes," I replied, voice trembling. "Finally, they see." And then the questions started. "Sam, we didn't know." Mom's voice cracked. "8 years? All this time?" Dad stammered. Vanessa's eyes welled with tears. "I didn't ask," she admitted, quietly, almost to herself. I didn't yell, I didn't scream. I let them feel the weight of their own silence, the betrayal, the neglect. Grandpa Thomas spoke again, calm and steady. "Change doesn't happen from lies. It happens from truth. And tonight, the truth has spoken for itself." I looked around the room. Cousins, aunts, uncles. Their eyes weren't just on me. They were seeing the story I had carried alone for 8 years. And I realized support doesn't have to come from the ones who fail you. It can come from those who choose to stand with you. For the first time, I felt light. I felt free. No guilt, no obligations, just me. And Ava and Leo, they were laughing, playing with Grandpa Thomas, completely safe, completely loved. I knew this was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where boundaries weren't betrayal, where love wasn't a transaction, where my energy, my heart, and my resources were mine to protect. I had won the moment. The truth was out, the silence broken. But life isn't done testing you just because you found your voice. Little did I know, the real challenge, letting go and moving on, was still ahead. 6 months had passed since Grandpa Thomas's party, and I finally had space to breathe, to think, to actually live. I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment in Silver Lake, Los Angeles. Nothing fancy, but safe, cozy, mine. No mortgage payments to parents who had never valued them. No constant pressure. Just rent, utilities, and the first real financial plan for Ava and Leo's future. The college fund I started for them wasn't just money, it was freedom. For them to chase their dreams without carrying someone else's burden. And for me, freedom to finally be myself. Grandpa Thomas became our rock. Every Sunday, he took the twins on little adventures: Griffith Park hikes, LA Zoo visits, ice cream from the corner shop. He told me once, "You're raising them right, Sam. You've always been strong." And for the first time in my life, I believed it. Aunt Eleanor became more than just family. She was a friend, a mentor, a safe place to vent all the anger, frustration, and exhaustion I had carried for years. We had dinners together, late-night talks about boundaries, life, and self-worth. And Marcus, he was still there. Not as a savior, not as a hero, just quietly, consistently, a presence that reminded me people could care without expecting payment or control in return. My parents, they tried, quietly, to reach out, but I didn't answer. Not because I wanted revenge, because I'd learned the hard way that self-respect isn't a reset button. Every call I ignored, every message I didn't reply to was a reminder that love isn't owed, it's chosen, and I had chosen me. I sat at my kitchen table one evening, Ava coloring, Leo stacking blocks. I felt complete. Not because the past was perfect, but because I finally stopped carrying the weight that wasn't mine. For 33 years, I believed love was something you earned, that giving enough, sacrificing enough, asking for nothing in return would finally make them see my value. I was wrong. Love isn't a transaction. It can't be bought, and no amount of blood, sweat, or money will make someone love you who doesn't choose to. The people who truly matter, they stand beside you because of who you are, not because of what you do for them. And Ava and Leo, they were my reason, the anchor, the joy, the future I get to build without fear, guilt, or obligation. But life has a way of testing the strongest. Just when you think you've built your world, challenges come knocking. I found my voice, my freedom, my family by choice. But what happens when the past refuses to stay in the past? It's been a year since the accident that changed everything. A year since I finally put down the weight that wasn't mine to carry. Samantha Hayes, single mom, cardiology resident, survivor, and finally, free. I watch Ava and Leo laughing in the backyard, chasing each other around the small garden. Their joy is untainted, pure, and completely mine to nurture. Grandpa Thomas, my rock, still takes them on adventures. Aunt Eleanor is more than family. She's my anchor. Marcus, still my friend, still quietly showing me what loyalty looks like. My parents, they are still in their temporary home, working, surviving, learning, maybe, the cost of taking without giving. And Vanessa, she reached out once, not for money, not for excuses, but with the barest hint of honesty. She admitted she saw the truth, finally, but I didn't need apologies anymore. I didn't need validation. I needed me. And I have her, my kids, my home, my career, my voice. The life I built is mine, free of guilt, manipulation, and unearned expectations. For 34 years, I thought love was something to earn, to buy, to work for endlessly. I was wrong. Love isn't a transaction. It's a choice. The people who truly matter, they love you for you, not for the money you send, the favors you do, or the sacrifices you make. They choose you every single day. And me? I choose me every morning, every night. I choose my kids, my happiness, my freedom, and that choice is the best gift I could ever give myself. To anyone out there carrying a burden that isn't yours, it's okay to put it down. It's okay to walk away from people who take without giving. It's okay to say no. It doesn't make you selfish. It makes you human. It makes you free. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know if my parents will ever truly understand. I don't know if Vanessa will find her footing. But I do know one thing. I have my life. I have my children. I have my peace. And for the first time in my life, that's enough. So tell me, have you ever had to walk away from someone who drained you? Have you ever chosen yourself even when it hurt? Type freedom in the comments if you've been there. Because the hardest, bravest, most life-changing decision is to finally put yourself first.